I was just trying to fix the damn sink. That's all it was supposed to be. The water had been running slow for weeks in her bathroom. Not enough pressure, tiny gurgles from the pipes. And when she mentioned it again over dinner, I said I'd take a look, like I always did, like a good stepson should. She was standing in the doorway when I looked up, arms folded, one hip against the frame, watching me. That quiet way she does, like she sees more than she says. Carla wasn't my real mom. She married my dad when I was 18. I didn't live with them long, just enough to know they didn't belong together. He was always away, and when he wasn't, he made her smaller with every word. By the time he left her, 2 years ago, I had already started helping around the house more than he ever did. She kept the place neat, always smelled like lavender and laundry. Her bedroom light was always soft, like she didn't want the house to feel too awake, and her voice, always low, careful, like she didn't want to be heard by the wrong person. "You okay down there?" she asked, kneeling beside me suddenly. Her hand touched the side of my arm, lightly, just a moment, as if it didn't mean anything. It did. "I'm fine," I said too quickly, clearing my throat. The wrench slipped in my hand. "You sure?" She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. She looked tired, not physically, emotionally, like she hadn't let herself want anything in a long time. I tightened the last valve, wiped my hands on the towel she handed me. Our fingers touched. She didn't pull away. "Thanks for doing this," she said. "You didn't have to. You didn't have to make me dinner either." I tried to joke. "But you always do." There was a pause. Her lips parted slightly like she wanted to say something else, something honest, but then she stood up too fast, smoothing down her shirt. "It's late," she said, turning toward the hallway. "You staying over tonight?" She always asked it casually, like it didn't matter, like she wasn't already folding the spare blanket for the couch every time I came over. "Yeah, I guess," I said, still watching her. She nodded. "Good." Another pause. Something hovered between us, heavy and quiet and unsaid. Then she turned her face halfway back toward me. "I need you tonight." First I thought I misheard her, or misunderstood, but she didn't move, didn't smile, just stood there, her hand resting against the wall, her back tense. I didn't answer, couldn't. She slowly looked over her shoulder, eyes meeting mine. Her expression unreadable, but something had changed. This wasn't a joke. This wasn't dinner. This wasn't about the sink anymore. Her voice was steady when she added, almost a whisper, "But only if you stay." I didn't move, couldn't even blink. Not because I didn't know what she meant, but because I did. She didn't say it again. Didn't need to. "But only if you stay." The word still hung there, echoing in the soft hum of the hallway light, pressing into my ribs like something I wasn't supposed to feel. I followed her, silently, to the kitchen, where the leftover lasagna sat cooling on the stove. She moved slowly, like she wasn't sure what she'd just done. Neither was I. Carla never talked like that. She was careful, every word measured, every look distant, like she'd already learned what happens when you get too close. But tonight something had cracked. Her ex, my father, had called last week. Drunk. Again. Said he was thinking about dropping by. Whatever that meant. She hadn't told him not to. Just went quiet on the phone, eyes darting while I sat across from her, pretending not to hear. Maybe that's why she said what she said. Maybe she just didn't want to be alone tonight. I told myself that, and still couldn't shake the heat in my chest. She pulled 2 plates from the cabinet and started reheating a slice for herself. I watched her move, the way her hair fell loose over her shoulder, a few strands catching on her collarbone, the faint crease at the corner of her mouth when she concentrated. I'd seen those things 100 times before. They'd never hit like this. "You sure you're okay?" I asked, my voice lower than usual. She gave a little half-smile without turning around. "No. But I'm used to that. It wasn't a joke." She didn't even try to pretend it was. I swallowed. I wanted to say something, anything, but I didn't know where the line was anymore. Didn't know if it even existed. She brought the plates to the table. We sat, ate mostly in silence. Every few minutes, she'd glance at me, quick looks, like she was checking to see if I'd changed my mind, if I'd stand up and leave. But I didn't, couldn't. You remember that time your dad forgot my birthday? She said suddenly. I looked up. Her voice was quiet. He brought home flowers from a gas station the next day. Said the date slipped his mind. She shrugged, eyes unfocused. I'd made dinner, bought candles, even wore perfume. I stared at her. She didn't notice. I think I knew even then that I wasn't going to matter to him, she said, laughing softly. But there was no humor in it. I would have remembered, I said before I could stop myself. She looked at me, eyes locking onto mine like she wasn't sure if she heard right. Her gaze didn't move. I know, she said finally. The silence stretched, not uncomfortable, just full. Then she stood and touched my arm gently. Her fingers lingered a moment longer than they should have. You don't have to sleep on the couch tonight, she said. It gets cold out there. I looked at her, really looked. I almost said her name. Not Carla. Not hey. Just her name. Like it meant something more. But I didn't. Not yet. I should have gone to the couch. That was the plan. That's what I told myself as I stood in the hallway, hands stuffed into my hoodie pockets, heart pulling in the opposite direction. She was in her bedroom with the door open. Not waiting exactly, but not waiting either. Her bedside lamp cast this warm amber glow against the hallway wall, like the night itself had softened. I wasn't supposed to see her like that. Hair brushed out, robe tied loosely at the waist, bare feet on the hardwood. But I did, and I didn't look away. You need anything before bed? She asked, like it was nothing, like she didn't just change everything with one sentence 20 minutes ago. I shook my head. You okay? She added. I didn't answer right away. My throat was tight, like something had lodged there. Too honest to say out loud. But then I heard it. Her phone buzzing. She didn't check it at first, but I could see her body stiffen. Then, finally, she walked over and turned the screen toward herself. Her jaw twitched. Your dad, she said under her breath. Not angry, just resigned. She turned the phone face down on the nightstand without answering. You're not going to call him back? I asked. Not tonight, she said, softer now. I don't want to be that version of me tonight. Her voice cracked at the end of the sentence. Just slightly, but I caught it. Something inside me shifted. I stepped toward the doorway, close enough to see the shimmer of emotion she was trying to hide. She sat on the edge of the bed, fingers nervously picking at the corner of the blanket. I hate that he still makes me feel like this, she whispered. Like I'm the one who broke it. You didn't, I said. You kept it together longer than anyone else would have. She looked up at me, startled, like I just told her something she wasn't ready to believe. Why do you always say the right thing? She asked. I don't, I said. I just see you. That's all. Silence. Her lips parted, then pressed together again, like she was holding something back. We both were. I sat beside her, careful not to touch, careful not to do what every part of me was screaming to do. But still our knees brushed. Once, then again. She didn't move away. Then, without thinking, I reached out and tucked a loose strand of hair behind her ear. My hand lingered, just slightly, just long enough. I should go, I said finally. But I didn't stand. And neither did she. Instead, she looked up at me with this look. Not of permission, not of guilt. Just a raw, open quiet. Like she was waiting to see who I really was in that moment. And for a split second, I almost kissed her. I should have stopped with that almost kiss. But silence can be louder than anything. And the way she looked at me, like I wasn't supposed to be the one to see her like this. And yet I was, made it worse. We hadn't moved. Still sitting side by side on her bed, the lamp humming softly beside us, our shadows too close. She finally broke the silence. You know, I used to think I was hard to love. Her voice cracked, just a little. I turned toward her, confused. Why would you think that? She shrugged. It's not something people say out loud. They just leave, or stay out of guilt. She glanced sideways. Or duty. I knew what she meant. The way she said duty, like that was what she thought I was here for. Like all the dinners, the repairs. The long talks meant nothing because she thought I was just checking in on my father's ex. You think that's why I'm here? I said. My voice was sharper than I meant it to be. She blinked, startled. I don't know why you're here. I'm here because I want to be, I said, almost too fast. There it was. Honest. Messy. No way to pull it back. She looked down at her hands, her knuckles tight. You're 23, Jamie. And you're 43. So what? Her breath hitched. I'm not just older. I was your stepmother. You were. You aren't anymore. She stared at me now, finally meeting my eyes. Like she was searching for something in them she hoped didn't exist. Say this out loud, she whispered. Tell me what this is. Right now. Before we do something we can't undo. I hesitated. My heart was slamming in my chest. I could feel the weight of every line we weren't supposed to cross. Every imagined rule, every unspoken boundary. But all of it felt paper thin in that moment. I think about you, I said quietly, more than I should. I watch you do these small things. Fold towels, talk to the neighbor, hum while you cook, and I can't stop wondering what it would be like if I wasn't just his son. Her lips trembled. You don't know what you're saying, she said. I do, I replied. I've known for a while. She stood suddenly, pacing to the edge of the room like she needed distance. Her hands went to her face, then dropped. I can't be someone's mistake again, she said. You wouldn't be. Another pause. Just the air between us, thick and shaking. Then she turned around, slow, and stared at me, eyes wet, shoulders trembling. What are we doing, Jamie? She asked. Not accusing, not blaming, just asking. And I had no answer, just the echo of her voice in the room, and her body still facing mine. What are we doing, Jamie? She hadn't moved since asking it, and I couldn't speak. My thoughts were too loud to make room for words. But then the hallway lit up. Her phone, still face down on the nightstand, buzzed again. Once, twice, then silence. She walked over slowly and flipped it. Read the screen. Stopped breathing. What is it? I asked. She didn't answer, just turned the screen toward me. A single line from my father. So, is he still coming over to check your sink? Her face crumpled like the breath had been punched out of her. I never, she started, trying to form a defense, even though she hadn't done anything. Not yet. He thinks? I began, but couldn't finish the sentence. He's not stupid, she said quietly. Just cruel. He always knew how to twist things. The shame that hit her, it was instant. I could see it rise behind her eyes, pull down her shoulders, wrap around her throat like an old friend. He thinks I've been waiting for this. Her voice cracked. That this was always what I wanted. I stood up. And was it? That wasn't what I meant to say, not like that. But it came out hard, and real, and louder than I wanted. She stared at me. No, not then. I took a step toward her. But now. She didn't flinch. She looked at me like someone standing on a ledge who's been there so long. The fears worn off. You want the truth? Yes. She walked past me, slowly, with this terrifying calm, opened the drawer of her dresser and pulled something out. A card. My handwriting. From 3 years ago. She handed it to me. I frowned, unfolding it. It was a birthday card. I'd forgotten I even wrote it. But she hadn't. Happy birthday, Carla. You make this place feel like home. I see you. I always have. I read it every year, she said. Even when your dad was still here. Even when I told myself it didn't mean anything. I looked up. My chest was full and tight, like something old and buried had just started breathing again. I'm not proud of it, she continued, her voice trembling. I know how wrong it looks, but I also know I've never let anyone in the way I've let you. My throat burned. I wanted to say something, anything, to meet her halfway. But then a knock. At the front door. Sharp. Male. We both froze. Ignore it, I said. She didn't move. Another knock. Louder. Then my father's voice. Carla? I know he's here. Everything in me turned cold. She didn't look at the door. She looked at me. Like this moment, right now, would decide everything. The knocking stopped. But the silence that followed was worse. He was still out there, we both knew it. Neither of us moved. Not toward the door. Not away from each other. Carla stood across from me like something fragile held together by sheer will. Eyes glassy. Shoulders stiff. And I realized she wasn't afraid of him. She was afraid of us. What happens now? She asked. The question should have had 1,000 answers. But I only had one. I'm not ashamed of what I feel, I said. It landed heavy between us. She didn't look away. I should be, I added. I know that, but I'm not. I took a breath. And I don't think you are either. Carla closed her eyes for a second too long. When she opened them, they were wet, tired, but clear. I've spent years being careful, she whispered, always calculating how I'm seen. How to not be the woman people whisper about. She let out a breath that shook. And I still ended up alone. I stepped closer. Slowly. You're not alone, I said. Not unless you choose to be. Her hand moved. Barely. Like she wanted to reach for me. Then stopped. I don't want to be something you regret, she said. You're not, I replied. You're the thing I don't. I paused. You're the only one who's ever made me feel understood. A small sound escaped her throat, part laugh, part sob. She finally stepped forward, closed the space between us. Her hands pressed flat against my chest, and for a moment I thought she might push me away. But they stayed there, warm, trembling, wanting. I can't undo what we are, she said. But maybe we don't have to keep pretending it never existed. My hand moved over hers. Not pulling, just staying. The door knocked again. This time just once. Then silence. Then retreating footsteps. He was gone. She didn't even look toward it. We just stood there, holding eye contact like two people who had finally run out of excuses. I'm not going back to the couch, I said quietly. I don't want you to, she said, even quieter. The air between us shifted. Slowed, settled, and for the first time it didn't feel wrong. It just felt true. She leaned her forehead into my chest, and I rested my chin against the top of her head. No kiss, no grand gesture, just closeness, and breath, and the quiet sound of two people not running anymore. We didn't speak much that night, not because there was nothing to say, but because silence finally felt safe. Carla lay beside me, her back warm against my chest, the bedroom lit only by the distant glow of the hallway nightlight. Her breathing was slow, steady, not guarded like it used to be. We didn't make any promises. We didn't label what this was. But her hand found mine under the blanket, and she laced our fingers together like she'd been waiting to. That was enough. By morning, her phone had 3 missed calls from my father. She didn't answer them. Didn't even open the messages. Instead, she made coffee like always, humming under her breath again, like something in her had quietly unclenched. I guess he knows now, I said, leaning against the doorway. She looked at me over her shoulder. He's always known. He just didn't think I'd stop caring what he thought. She paused. I used to think I owed him something. Loyalty, silence, shame. But maybe I just owe myself honesty. I crossed the room and gently took the mug from her hands. You don't have to explain anything to anyone anymore, I said. Not to him. Not to me. Her eyes softened. And what about you? You sure this won't become one of those things you look back on and wonder what the hell you were thinking? I let out a slow breath, then stepped closer. Close enough for her to feel the heat between us again. I already know what I was thinking, I said. I was thinking no one ever looked at me like you do. Like I matter. Like I'm seen. I hesitated, then added. And I was thinking I'd rather deal with the mess than live with the distance. Her eyes stayed on mine a long time. Then she nodded. Just once. That's the thing about people like us, we don't get fairy tale endings. We don't ride into sunsets. We walk forward slowly, carefully, hands still a little shaky, but open. We didn't go public. Not right away. We kept it ours. Private. Sacred. My father eventually stopped calling. I think, deep down, he knew he'd already lost her long before I stepped in. He just didn't expect me to be the one she turned to after. But the world didn't end. No one burned down the house. She's still Carla. I'm still me. But the version of her that used to flinch when someone got too close? She's gone. And me? I finally know what it means to stay, not out of guilt or habit or fear, but because it's where I want to be. With her. Still.